Right, so not surprising to anyone, at least anyone who's been paying attention to this story, the Jeffrey Epstein death has been ruled a suicide by hanging. And like I said, not surprising to anyone in that I think we all knew that they were going to rule it a hanging. And it's pretty disappointing because we're never going to know a lot of things from this. Number one, obviously the people that were tied to him. I mean, a lot of people were pretty much, you can tell for sure that they were linked with him. It's just a matter of to what extent. And secondly, that we may not know exactly how he was killed, because I don't think anybody anybody paying attention to this actually thinks it was a suicide. And if it was indeed a suicide, in the very least, it was allowed by prison staff, upper management, whoever was there. We know that one of the guards wasn't even actually a certified guard. We know that they fell asleep on the job around the time that he committed suicide. We heard reports that there was screaming. We heard other reports that there wasn't. So there was very conflicting reports on what went on in this, and we're probably never going to know, because at this point I would be pretty surprised if any actual good news came out on this subject. So it's pretty disappointing, because there was a lot of Hollywood actors, politicians, multi-millionaire, even maybe some billionaires that were tied to this guy, and it would have been nice to have known, because it would have implicated a lot of big name people, and they obviously get away with whatever stuff that they were doing. So the other thing to mention too is that it more than likely wasn't a suicide by hanging, because I listened to an interview today, and if you didn't listen to it, it was done by Stefan Molyneux and a doctor he had on his channel. So go check that out if you're interested. But they talked about the fact that the hyoid bone, I think is how you pronounce it, was broken in his neck. And breaking a bone like that requires a ton of force. And the only way that he could have committed suicide was literally by tying a sheet around something and just leaning into it. Apparently that was the similar way that Robin Williams committed suicide, and the problem with that is that it's extremely unlikely that you would break bones in your neck by committing suicide in that way. So that's why it's just another it's not as if there wasn't already enough red flags in this case, but it's just another one that doesn't make any sense. And then I think it's pretty safe to assume that that the official story is BS, but we don't know exactly what happened, who had him killed, how they killed him, all that stuff. So, like I said, pretty disappointing that we didn't know. The good thing coming out of this story is he's dead. I don't know too many other people in the world that deserve to die more than a guy like this. But it would have been nice to have known who he could have implicated, because I'm sure there was a lot of people. We're talking probably hundreds, if not thousands of people, mostly men, probably almost all men, that he could have implicated, at least to some degree, and a lot of them maybe, on, pretty massive charges. So I'll leave it there, but I think that it's pretty evident that this was not a suicide, even though the medical examiner ruled it that way. My guess is that the medical examiner was either paid off or threatened, or given some reason to not to look the other way on this kind of thing, for whoever the powers that be wanted. And for anyone who's saying that it's a conspiracy theory, I know of a lot of people who are very, very, almost everyone I watch on YouTube is very skeptical of most conspiracy theories, and I don't know one person who isn't questioning the official story on this. Even prominent left-wing YouTubers, namely the Young Turks, have questioned this kind of stuff. A lot of the people on the left, because they think Trump is tied to him, which he is, but it's to a very small extent. And Trump had kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago, all that kind of stuff. Trump had never been to his island, all that kind of stuff. So I think they're kind of trying to dig a little too deep to find evidence on Trump when there's evidence on other people that's just screaming out at them. I know a lot of people say it's the Clintons, but I'm sure there's other people that are just as powerful or more powerful than the Clintons that are tied to this guy. It's just a matter of the Clintons are a pretty easy target and pretty obvious one. So I'll leave it there, but if you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.